Welcome, everybody, to Fix Your BS, the podcast where we dive deep into the belief systems that shape our lives and hold us back from achieving our dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Greg Pursley, also known as Dr. G, and in each episode, we'll explore powerful conversations with successful individuals across business, money, relationships, health, and personal growth. Join us as we unpack their journeys, challenge limiting beliefs, and discover practical insights to help you build your dream life on your own terms. It's time to fix your BS and unlock your full potential. Today, I have an amazing guest, Justin Tuminowski, and we're going to talk about things like real estate, sub-2, creative financing. This guy is an absolute legend in the real estate innovation space and creative finance education space. Really appreciate you being here, Justin. Can't wait to start talking with you and teaching about some of the things that you know to the people that listen to our podcast.
Love it. Dr. G, thank you so much. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I hope we deliver some impactful, content for you and your listeners and your audience, because from what I've seen, you guys you're doing amazing things, and I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you for saying that, but man, this is all about you. Okay. So many people come to us and talk about investing. They talk about what they should invest in. Should they go into crypto? Should they go into the stock market? Should they buy businesses? Should they invest in real estate? So on and so forth. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I've talked to a lot of successful people over the years, is it always comes back to real estate in some way, shape, or form. All right. So 2 questions. Number 1, why? And number 2, how did you get into this game and get so good at it?
I love it. Thank you. Yeah, it does tie it all back. I heard another statistic too, though, but for all the billionaires we have, those billionaires, there's only, something like 12% made it to the billions through real estate. However, they all own a massive amount of real estate. So I think businesses would get people. So they say you buy businesses to generate a lot of cash. The cash then rolls right into real estate. Real estate reduces the taxes that you don't have to pay out for all the gains. So, but I did see the other side of it. But real estate is impactful. It is powerful. It's one of the best tools. I think it's one of the best tools to become financially free or just to set your family up just for a little bit of success, right? Like, you don't have to be Grant Cardone. You don't have to be my friend Pace Morby. All you'd really have to do is get a few rentals, take care of, and it takes care of the generations behind you. Even it has the potential to, right? It's not a foolproof method, but
right, of course, the potential, right?
Yeah, the potential. You have like investing in anything. You have to be careful, but you always hear the stories of McDonald's, right? McDonald's being one of the biggest. They have some of the best real estate in their portfolio. Well, of course, but the big thing isn't the business; it's the freaking real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate is.
Most people don't know that, though. Most people don't. If you ask the average individual, what does McDonald's sell? They'll say hamburgers. Or what is the biggest asset McDonald's has? And they'll say hamburgers. And I say, no, it's real estate and intellectual property. Those 2 things. Those are the biggest 2 things that McDonald's actually has.
Yep.
Right.
I love that. And same thing with, I met a gentleman years ago, and it ties into the fast food. And this really, it's a little part of my story, and I'll get into the beginnings of my story. But this gentleman I'm in the Boston area. So I'm in the New England, Northeast market, born and raised. And this gentleman named Fred Gallant. Fred Gallant is an older gentleman now, but he owned KFCs all across the Northeast and somewhat across the country too. And we're talking about Kentucky Fried Chicken. All right. And he actually was personal friends with the Colonel. I mean, we're talking 30, 40 years of it. So whenever KFC came out, Fred was actually washing dishes and playing cleanup in one of these restaurants years ago. And someone gave him a break. Someone said, "Hey, Fred, I'm going to give you like the restaurant, work your way up to manager and do all these things." So he worked his way up, and to accumulate something like 30 of these restaurants all in the New England area. And he had a couple out west. And Fred always taught me the trick was the real estate. He said, "I own a lot of these guys will do a 100-year lease on the land. They'll build a restaurant on the land. They'll lease the land from someone else." But Fred goes, "I own the land and I own the franchise."
And so what makes what makes real estate so stable? Because it is pretty stable when you look over time.
Mhm.
And the difference between private or personal residences in real estate versus commercial residences.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for the real estate that makes it so valuable, it is, I mean, they always say that they're not making any more land, right? But it's, location based, economic based, it's the everything that's involved inside of like where the movement of people. We're in the people business. If you're in the if you're in the residential side, now you can be in the commercial residential side of things. You can do high rises and skyscrapers, and they have residential up top and some retail at the bottom. But at the end of the day, we're still in the people business. So the movement of people is very important. And I think it's really comes down to politics too. We're seeing a lot of politics. A lot of us buy based off of politics and how the state actually is. Is it a red state or is it a blue state? Because that comes into now our landlord laws, and that comes into our tax incentives, and our, if I have to put a $10,000 up just to get an eviction on the docket for a judge,
So
then
let me ask you this for people watching. I hate to interrupt you, but what is better right now to invest in this moment? Red states or blue states?
oh, you 100% want red states.
And why? Why
In
is
my
that?
opinion, it's the landlord friendly laws, so they're
Mm.
more favorable for landlords, and no one's looking to get over on anybody, but it actually is to protect us from getting folks getting over on us. And we're talking about, think about New York, and I love everybody in New York. I have friends in there. I just came from there. However, if you want to get an eviction, I know someone who just went through it, and actually in Massachusetts too. It cost them $8,000 to get them out. They stayed in the house 8 months rent free. And then I can't even tell you what the calculation on the mortgage payments that they missed also, or they had to make for those people too. So they had to pay for an eviction. These folks got to stay in the house. They couldn't enter the house. They couldn't even contact them. And they had to also pay the mortgage for 8 months without collecting rent. And some folks just rinse and repeat this method across the country. So if you go into invest in states that it's a little less likely that will occur. If it occurs, it will occur. It's just, will it take you 30 days, 60 days, or will it take you 12 months to get it out? That's a
Yeah,
big
because
one.
in a single unit, 12 months of that could be a $30,000-$40,000 loss.
You're devastated.
When you talk about legal fees plus missed rent payments and those type of things.
COVID hurt a lot of people that we don't always hear about during that, when people didn't have to pay the rent. They weren't getting the rent assistance then, or they weren't using it properly. There was a lot of folks who if you do not have the bankroll to even supply some of that, if people stop paying you, you have to now foot the bill for that mortgage. It still has to get paid. And some folks are only making a few $100s a month on a door. So everyone thinks that landlords are getting rich quick. It's not really like that, but uh, it's the accumulation, it's the tax incentive. There's a bunch of things that come into that, where it's the long game. We're here for a long game, but some folks just getting into it. They buy a 2-family, 3-family. They might live in it. That helps them. But if one of those people stop paying the rent,
Mm.
it's dramatic.
Would you recommend, so when you talk a lot about sub two, and a lot of people don't really know what that is, which in the real estate game that means subject to, so you can basically create your own terms. You can do a financing through the person that actually owns it. You can take over the mortgage. There's a lot of things that can go into that. People don't realize how many options you really have to make an offer. But what I always advise people is figure out what you do and what you do great, and create a career at that and make money, and create a gap between what you make and what you spend by becoming really good and really valuable in that space. And then you can protect that money and by investing into real estate, to acquire long-term wealth. I think a lot of people get into real estate incorrectly in two ways. They want to get rich quick, which I tell people getting rich quick is not the option. I tried that. I thought about it. I fell into that trap. It's not a good place to be. You should play the long game. And then the second thing, on the real estate side, you instead of getting rich quick, they try to go in without any money down. Now, that being said, you guys talk about sub two, and you can get into these properties without any money down. Just tell me a little bit about that process and how people can do that. And then also the difference between having money down and not having money down in doing these deals.
It's a great. Thank you for bringing all that up, because it is important to actually educate as well. And that's, I feel so strongly about it. But I also, so subject to sub two, it's a community. Number one, that it's near and dear to my heart. I am, if anyone asks about sub two, and my name should come up in that conversation somewhere down the line if they've been in that community, because I feel so strongly it's a family. It's the best thing I've ever done.
Well, let me explain that to everybody, because I met Pace, and Pace obviously introduced me to you. Pace Morby, and what he's talking about, sub two is a community. Pace, you might have seen him. He's got a hat on. It's got the peace. It looks like a peace sign, but it's really the subject two sign. But it's a community of people that learn and are educated in how to invest in properties using the subject to or sub two process. Is that pretty much explaining? And if anybody's interested in that, the links will be down in the description here. You can click on those things and learn more about it. So yeah, go ahead. I wanted to explain that to everybody.
Thank you for that. And guys, if you don't have to come right into a community. Go on the YouTube channel, take a look. Make sure you go to Greg's channel. But after Greg's channel, go over to Pace Morby's, go to my YouTube channel. You'll see about investing in creative finance, and then just look. That's all I want you to do. Just look. But more importantly, so creative finance, subject to, seller finance, some of the components we do. But subject to is, like Greg said, subject to the existing terms and conditions. So we can essentially buy anything subject to. But we're talking about real estate right now. But we buy businesses. I bought my wife's luxury vehicle, subject to. Someone actually, and I'll use that as an example if anyone doesn't understand this, but so a gentleman who I did not know, he was outside of our community. He had a brand new $110,000 vehicle that he bought his wife, and the wife did not like this vehicle. They had 500 miles on it. And it just so happened, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of manifesting that happens in my life, it seems like, but my wife and I were talking about it. It wasn't the right timing. But I know she needed a vehicle. She earned this vehicle. She deserved this vehicle. As a man, I wanted to provide this vehicle to her. We're not luxury type of people, but I think that she definitely earned it. She earned it. So she said, it's time for an upgrade. You get the nice one. I'll drive my beat up trucks. And so I made a post on a free group online and said, hey guys, obviously we're doing creative finance. Love to buy this car creatively. And I'll get into how that happens. A gentleman says, oh, I never even thought of it. I am selling that exact car, color, everything that I put out there. He had the exact model. And I said, okay. He goes, and he checked out my social media. He goes, wow, all right, you're credible. Didn't even think about selling it in this way. I've been trying to sell it. He took $25,000 loss. He had it on there for maybe $90,000, $95,000, but he bought it for $110,000, $115,000. So he was taking a bath, but he just needed to get rid of this problem. And how we structured it, I said, well, send me over your loan docs. You have a loan on this? He said, yes. Send me over the loan docs. Well, he had a 5% interest rate on it. And he says, this is the payment each month. I've already paid all these payments. Take it over at the payment, at the loan amount that this car is at right now. I don't care. Just get rid of my problem. The problem was essentially a mortgage payment that he's paying every month. So it sits in the garage. He sold mortgages. So I think that during the time when we bought this earlier last year, it was a tough time for him financially too. So guys, we bought this car with someone else took out a loan at a bank. He bought this car with his credit, his credentials. He then said to me, Justin, please take over this payment for me. I said, no problem. We ended up doing a bill of sale. We transferred some paperwork, made sure he was protected. Next thing you know, I take the keys to the car and I drive off with the car. And I now make the payments on that loan, on that loan. I wanted to say mortgage so many times, but it's a loan from a bank, a car loan, guys. And that loan, I now make payments on. It still says his name on the loan. The car is registered and we're controlling it on our end. So think of it as a house. The house is a vehicle and a house are very, very much similar. And a mortgage and a loan would be the same thing. So someone goes out and takes a mortgage out on a house, they can no longer make those payments potentially. But hey, that's got a 3% interest rate. They just refinanced in 2021 or 22. Gee golly, I'd love to have that 3% because I'm not getting them right now. I don't know if we're ever going to see that in the next long while.
I don't think you'll see it again.
Yeah, I want to say that, but I also don't want to put that out there. But I believe that. I've said it before.
Okay, well, when was the last time we saw 3% interest rates before a few years ago?
I know.
Ever? Did it ever happen?
So guys, it's when you're buying a home, think of it as a vehicle. Someone took out the mortgage, they put the down payment in, they did all the things. But hey, maybe there's a distress, maybe there's a death, maybe there's a divorce. Greg, everything, life happens. And we're there, we actually provide value in a lot of instances too. It's not just a distress, not just a negative perspective that we're going after. We're not ambulance chasers. Now, there are negative instances where this is actually, investors benefit from, meaning they're helping, but it's still, there's gray areas in this, but a lot of the time it's these folks are successful because of creative finance. Now, again, this gentleman could not sell this car for 95,000. He would have kept price dropping it. So I ended up taking over the loan balance at about $88,000. And we stepped right into place for that. And that's creative finance. That was just one instance where no cash, no credit, no credentials. And
And
I
this
paid.
goes in. What's interesting is people talk a lot about credit. Their credit. I can't do this because of credit or whatever. And it ties back into the belief systems world that I've created and the movement that we've created. In the fact that you have to look outside of the traditional beliefs of the way things work. When you're talking about creative financing, what you're really saying is, I'm going to help you solve this problem. I'm going to figure out a way to help you as an individual solve this problem where you benefit, I benefit, and everyone that is involved is benefiting. And that's really what sub 2 is. It's subject to creativity and figuring out what works best in this scenario. And if it works for everybody, great, you move forward. If it doesn't for whatever reason, then you say, okay, well, we're going to stop it where it's at. But I just love that idea of unboxing your beliefs, unboxing your mind into saying, okay, well, let's look at it a different way, different perspective. Maybe there's a way we can help you, you can help me, everybody wins.
Oh gosh, Greg, it's so good when I explain this to folks, and I'll explain it to a homeowner or another investor. We've bought properties from investors, creative finance, because it saves them on taxes, or one way or another, it saves them from brokers and agent fees and all those things. But they go, "Where has this been my whole life?" I said, "That's what I said when I realized this about 3, 4 years ago." I was like, "Where the heck was this?" And it's been happening since
Yeah.
folks were transacting and lending and notes were created.
Yeah.
You know,
Subject to has always been around. People just
it's
didn't
always
know
been
about
around.
it. They didn't know it was an option.
Yeah. And the folks who were doing it, really what it was? It was the folks, it was a dirty little secret that people kept close to the vest. You had the tapes, you had the DVDs back in the day, guys. So if you're a little bit younger, you don't realize that you used to carry around a briefcase full of tapes, and yeah, or you had CDs when you had courses and you had to learn these things. We didn't have YouTube, we didn't have social media, we didn't have you had to go out and buy an infomercial if you want, or a book to learn these things. And there's been folks before Pace Morby that pioneers that have paved the path, but Pace brought it perfect timing right to the mainstream. And we're buying businesses this way. We're buying houses. You buy anything with a loan, we can do it. And the
Well,
other thing is, we're solving problems with IRS liens and taxes and solar liens. And
yeah.
um, we're, oh, it goes so on and on and on. And I love it
Well,
so
and
much.
people don't realize this too. In the next decade, there's $7 trillion of wealth being transferred in people's businesses that they aren't able to pass down to their kids. They're not able to sell it. They're not in a position to really sell it. And so you can go in and you can take over these businesses. I hate to say take over, but you can acquire these businesses without really much money down or any money down. And you can say, hey, look, I will acquire the business subject to these terms, and now it's your business. And
Yeah.
if you can't make the payments based on the cash flow, then guess what? It goes back to the person that originally had it anyway. So it's a win-win for everybody in that situation. And that's a huge thing that's coming up right now. It's happening, and people are
Where they go.
retiring and they don't know what to do with their businesses. The kids don't want them. They can't really sell them because they're not positioned properly. So you can come in and be like, look, I'll buy it at this rate, but I'm going to pay you back with cash flow. And therefore, I didn't have to bring any money to the table, and I didn't have to use my credit. I didn't have to go to a bank. I love what Pace says when he's talking with people like giants, like Grant Cardone.
Mhm.
He's like, yeah, I don't need credit. I didn't have to go to the bank. I've never been to a bank really to get a loan. And
Yeah.
it boggles your mind. You're like, wait, what do you mean you never had to? How did you get this stuff? How did you become worth hundreds of millions of dollars if you didn't have to go to a bank?
Yeah. And it's amazing. And so many good things you've said. The silver tsunami that's coming, that's here. And of all those baby boomers that are retiring and some of them don't even have children to leave these businesses to. Other folks don't even want them. no one in their circle. All too often we're getting offers of businesses, and I'd love to look at anything, plumbing businesses, laundromats are very popular. And folks go, oh, I was just going to close the doors. And we're like, no, 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 no.
Which is
We can
crazy to
actually,
me because you already have a base. Like, why would you close a business up that has some value that you could sell it for something? Like, let's say it's doing 100 grand a year. You could sell it for $10,000 to somebody. Why would you just leave $10,000 on the table? Or if it was actually run well, you could sell it for 80, 90, maybe 100, maybe 110. There's value there. Why wouldn't you even look at that? That drives me nuts.
Greg, I think there's a few things. It's folks are tired. We buy a lot of things from tired landlords, tired homeowners that did it wrong. They did it themselves. They beat themselves up because they didn't automate and have systems and people, and they tried to go at it alone, so they're actually beat and worn out. I think that, and I also think there's a severe lack of education, where sure you built up this business, but that's all they know is just that business, and unfortunately it's a lack of education, and sometimes it's just that. But yeah, no crap, no
I
cash,
think
no.
sometimes people, like you said, they've kind of beat themselves over the years. They're kind of done with it, and they I think psychologically sometimes don't want to pass the burden that they feel on to someone else.
Yeah. Yep. All too often, all it takes is one little change. Most folks they weren't on social media, they weren't advertising. We see it all the time with RV parks, mobile home parks, all these mom and pop, operators. They were getting beat up, kicked in the teeth because they had allowed evictions because they didn't know how to properly property manage and have screening processes in place and systems and in processes. So all too often, it's just such a simple little change or a tweak. But also what we'll do is we'll keep those folks in their business if they wanted, meaning either they can stay on board, we'll pay them, if not come out of the business and still get a monthly distribution, and let us cash flow this thing. And it's changing their lives. Again, they were like, we were just going to shut the doors. My son didn't want it. And, I've accumulated enough money, and we go, no, 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 stay on. We'll use you for a little while to help us, transition and collect the distribution every month. So powerful.
Exactly. I mean, but there's more options. That's the thing, is like, there's so many people that will try one thing. They'll say, well, I'm going to sell this. And then some consultant says, well, it's not really sellable right now with the way the books are, or the way the systems are, or whatever. And they'll go, oh, okay, I guess it's not sellable. And they'll just give up. And you're like, no, 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 no. There's value there. It's all about value. And there's somebody out there that will work with you, and you're leaving money on the table if you own a business and you're ready to eliminate or exit out of that business. There's a stat that I saw. It said something along the lines that 85% of businesses that will never sell.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's simply because there's not people that are out there that want to. It's the marketing side of, I'm ready to sell my business, and they don't know how to do it, or they're going through a broker and the broker says, well, your financials aren't in order, therefore, you're not going to be able to sell this thing. And so it's not worth enough to the broker to do anything. But there's communities like this, and out there in this world today, you can reach a lot of them through social media, through different groups. There are people out there that want to buy your business. I'm one of them. I want to buy your business. Contact me, contact my team.
Yeah. And that's so good. And if it doesn't fit your buy box, it doesn't fit you, you put it back out there, or you will help put it out there. We'll help put it out there. There is someone for that. I always say there's a butt for every toilet seat. Someone will buy it. It means something to somebody. Maybe the equipment is more valuable than the business. Well, maybe let's sell the equipment on seller finance. Get paid for that equipment, sell the building, or maybe it's a lease, and exit. But you got to get to the right people, and it's just getting out of your own way sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly true. So tell me, like, some of the things you've learned over the years in, I guess, some stories of I don't want to say failure, or let's just say stories of lessons learned that people should really look out for or should pay attention to if they are looking to invest into real estate or get into doing some subject to deals with either, items like cars or boats or whatever, but real estate and businesses are the two that we talk about the most.
Yeah. I would say we were talking about it earlier, but no cash, no credit, no credentials. Sure, that's sexy. That's really attractive. But what you got to be careful for is you going into a deal. We can talk about the evictions. We talked about that earlier too. So let's say you buy a subject to deal. Sure, you're taking over someone's mortgage payment. Let's, $2,000 a month. Great. I got a house now in my name. Perfect. Well, now you need to monetize that. You need to actually make sure that it's repaired, renovated, it's permitted, all those things come along. So now you do need to be educated on essentially doing those things. Now, we always promote community. We have the best community in real estate, and it truly is. There is someone or anywhere across the country that you can lean on. You can call and say, hey, you're in Georgia. I just bought this house. I'm 1,000 miles away. Can you help me? No problem. I just made that phone call actually today in Texas, Dallas, Texas. I'm buying a house for probably zero down. And one of my friends, she says, oh, I'll walk it tomorrow. I'm like, perfect. Thank God. I don't have to, it's easy. One phone call. It was actually a text message. But what you want to be careful is getting into these deals where then you're responsible for the mortgage. You are responsible still. And I've seen folks accumulate too much, too fast, too quick, where then next thing you know, they're holding 6 houses. Well, at $2,000 a pop, you better be ready for that monthly mortgage. That's someone needs to
Well,
pay.
that goes back to the business side of building a team. And these groups are really beneficial because you can go in and learn about what the successful people are doing and play the long-term game of building things properly to where you can sustain it. I know a lot of people that grew too fast and that they built a house of cards, so to speak, and it ended up collapsing on itself. Growing too fast is not always the answer. You want to grow at the pace that makes sense with your skill sets, your team skill sets, and the market and the systems that you have built around you. Is kind of what we educate on when we talk about business.
Yeah, Greg, it's so right, and it's 100% true. I've seen it. We were helping people, other investors, get out of these sticky situations. Same with borrowing money. They'll borrow money, private money lending, and a lot of money needs to be exchanged. Sometimes, these entry fees, we call it entry fees, but you can get a zero down deal, or maybe a zero down out of your pocket, meaning like you didn't have any personal money into it, but you borrowed someone's money. Well, and then you accumulate these 6 properties with 6 mortgages, and now you had 6 different lenders on it, private money, someone's 401k or someone's personal savings, grandma's money, dad's money. You need to pay that money back, or you need to pay that monthly distribution or interest rate back to them. So yeah, people get bit, but it is a powerful tool. I mean, I bought my mom's house recently. That was one of the best things. A son, I think. I'm a mama's boy. I'm a woman. I'm a product of 5 or so females, aunts and my mother and grandmother, and I was raised by some powerful women. And one of the things was buying mom a house. Let me get my mom her house. She's had her own homes before, and now it's like, let me get you right next door. Let me get you over down the street, get you close to your grandkids. And that was so awesome. In the middle of the crazy hike of these houses, I got a 3% mortgage in a house that I, bought the house with a 3% mortgage, helped a seller in foreclosure. He was $75,000 in arrears, meaning he had stopped paying his mortgage up to about $75,000 worth. And during
Mm.
COVID, a lot of folks, that happened to people, and they just couldn't get out of it. So we ended up getting him positive. He got cash in his pocket. House was stable. We kicked off the foreclosure. We pushed it away, got the loan restructured, where then he exited, money in his pocket, on his time, his accord. I took it over. So that's serving, that's delivering, and that's serving. And they took a community to do that. So again, powerful. I don't know where I was going to go with that, but other than just buying mom a house was the coolest thing, and creative finance was helped me achieve that.
Yeah, I've had stories. So I took a lot of courses in real estate, and then I really focused more on business, and so the business would create enough revenue to where then I could throw that revenue into real estate. So it took a lot of courses over time. And one of the stories that I really love was somebody that was in the middle of, this was in 2018, where there was a bit of a real estate issue there for a minute. And anyway, they were just behind. They were on the verge of getting foreclosed on, and they were going to lose, their house, and they were going to lose their cars, and that's going to affect their credit for a long period of time, and it was going to affect their family. And the guy was just in a pretty bad state. Well, this wasn't my deal, but I knew the guy that was doing the deal, and basically he came in and he goes, look, you're going to get foreclosed on. I'm an investor. I want to make some money off the house, but I don't want you to be, screwed over, so to speak, during this process. So we're going to keep you out of foreclosure. We're going to keep your credit high because you're not going to be in foreclosure. I'm going to make some money off the house, but I'm going to set you up an apartment with your family so you can kind of get reestablished. Paid for the first few months of rent for the guy, and was able to do that through the equity that the house had. And so that's the type of deals that you're talking about. It's saying, look, I'll take the mortgage over. We'll keep the same interest rate because it's a really good interest rate. I'm going to take some of the equity, but I'm going to use some of the equity to get back on your feet. And so everybody wins in that scenario. And that's what you're really talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many stories, story after story, that they're a little bit different, but time after time, that's at the end of the day. At the end of the day, that's what we're doing: leading with value and serving people and delivering. And I just got the phone call Friday. It was last Saturday, excuse me, from a gentleman we helped in Georgia. And I randomly brought up Georgia earlier, but this happened to be in Georgia, where we saved him from foreclosure. He kicked the can down the road inside of the house, and I say that in the most polite way, meaning he was able to just sit in the house for a little while we got everything in order. But the bank wasn't coming, the auction wasn't coming, the sheriff was not coming. So he had the easy button for a little while. We finally got him exited with, I think, $10,000 in his pocket. He just called us the other day. This was 2 years ago. He goes, "Hey guys, I need to you have to remove the DTI, your debt to income ratio, sometimes, because folks go for another loan or another car loan, maybe when they reestablish and they rebuild their credit up." So we rebuilt this gentleman's credit after 2 years. He's like, "I'm ready to go buy a house with my fiance." First of all, I was asking, how the heck do you do that? Because you had a pre-foreclosure. But that's not my business. But he's like, "I need to get the DTI removed." I said, "No problem. We'll take care of it. We're going to set you up with the right person to do that." And that was really cool, though, and powerful, where to go, man, it worked.
Yeah.
We said what we were going to do. We said what we were going to do. We made those mortgage payments religiously, and his credit is now in a good spot.
And that's the cool part. It's really about serving. It's about
Yeah.
giving. I talk about this a lot, building relationships, giving to people, to where they win, you win, everybody wins. Any final things that you'd like to say to people that are listening? Just words for that of thought, or just some sort of, I don't know, inspirational, educational thought that you have that you'd like to share.
I think it's surround yourself with good people. That's the number one thing. I have community on my sweatshirt. It's a little bit bright. It's probably my camera, but it's community, and that's a big thing that changed my life. Um, we didn't talk about, too much prior, but there was an instance where I'll share with your audience that I had a business partner where I'm a blue collar worker, tradesman. I have electrical license, had electrical business. I thought it was trading time for money was how I thought this was supposed to go,
Mm.
honestly, for the here on out. And I figured I'll be the business owner eventually, but I didn't know what that looked like. But real estate, I always knew I'd get into as well. But anyway, long story short is the partner that I had for many of my years, and we were best friends since childhood. He was being influenced by an outside party that kept telling him, "Hey, partners are for dancing. Partners are for dancing." And I was like, "Man, that's rude." Something tells me in my gut that's not in my belly. That's not how I was raised. Sure, like partnerships can go sideways, and sometimes they do, or one person grows and the other needs to stay behind. I understand that. We all evolve. But I couldn't have, so I went in, I broke apart during this whole process of the business split. When that was going on, I found pace. It was like, again, manifesting. These things just come to like a magnet. Things in life come naturally sometimes. And I feel like whoever it is or whatever it is, I'm thankful for. And I found pace. I found a community. That's the complete opposite of what I was involved in. Partners are for dancing. Let's not have
Mm.
anybody else involved in this. And I can tell you now that I have so many different partners across the country. We buy real estate, we do different transactions, we buy businesses, do all the things we said, lend money, and it's all a community based, and it's farther from the truth. So surround yourself with good people. Greg, you're doing a great job. Thank you so much. And it's also, you had Grant Cardone's Jared on here. Powerful. There was a female, Brittany, who I was in the shower listening to that. Brittany, I don't know her last name, but holy mackerel, funnels,
Yeah.
systems, processes. Oh my goodness, that was so good. I shared it with my operator. Thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And to go on to your final thought there, I believe that partnerships can be very profitable. Partnerships for profit, if you have the right partner, if you know what you're doing in that. Make sure you find yourself a good lawyer that can protect you. So you want to protect yourself in that. And then also collaboration is the new currency. I totally believe, because we live in such a social connected world, that you have to collaborate with others, and everyone needs to win in that collaboration, and that will bring new currency, which is what we do. In the Fix Your Belief Systems, Fix Your BS world, our goal is to help people personally develop as well as develop on the financial and business side. And that's what we're all about. And we find people that, you know, if you don't want to own a business, if you don't want to look into the things that we do, then that's why we have people like you on, so they can look into your community and say, well, maybe real estate or sub two contracts are my thing. Learn about them. If it's interesting to you, learn about it. That's what we educate is constantly. You should constantly learn. I go by the can I principle. Can I is constant and never ending improvement. And can you? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Can I? Yes, you can. So I appreciate you saying those kind words. I just love helping others grow, expand, learn, and doing that through other people's experiences is way more effective and get you to where you want to be quicker than going through the pain and the loss of not just time and energy, but money as well, of figuring it out on your own. So collaborate, partner, and join groups like mine, join groups like Justin's and Pace's groups, because those are the ones that are going to teach you how to learn about these things faster and, you know, avoid all the negative pain of messing it up on your own.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
And one last thing you said something that jogged my mind, and recently I've been living by this too. It's, if not me, then who? Or if not you, then who? However you're going to direct that, but that means go out and take the action, go out and do the thing. Because if it's not you, it's going to be someone else.
And if not now, then when?
Yeah, exactly.
If there's something that is coming from inside of your soul that keeps rising up, like a thought that keeps coming up, I need to get in better shape, I need to invest differently, I need to whatever, I need to do that, I need to get out of this job and do this thing. If not now, then when? Like, figure out, the only time you have is now. So figure out what you're going to do and just do it. Start taking action. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, but learning from other groups and other people that have been there, way more powerful. Your network is your net worth. Yes. And you need to go into the network, learning, giving, being respectful, polite, and in doing that, you'll learn the language and the feeling and the understanding, which is different than the information, the understanding. And in getting that understanding, you will then become a new and better person. And you continuously do that a little bit every single day. And years later, all of a sudden, you'll look at your friend group and go, I'm advancing and you guys aren't. And then you need to get the next friend group. Yes. And then you need to get the next friend group. And it's called leveling up. And that's how it's done.
I love that. So good.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks, Justin, for being here. Really appreciate you. Everybody, check out Justin's links. They're all in the description, all of his social media, as well as the Sub2 communities. Look into them. Look into the things that other people are doing. Find your niche, find your group, find your tribe that you can learn from and become the best version of yourself that you can be. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of Fix Your BS. I hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to really challenge your own belief systems. If you're ready to take the next step and join the Fix Your BS community dedicated to your personal transformation, check out my coaching group by clicking the link in the description, where we will work together to turn your dreams into reality. Remember, the only thing standing between you and your goals are your beliefs and your actions. So let's fix them. Until next time, keep believing in yourself with me, Dr. G, the creator of Fix Your BS. Thanks, Justin. All right, man. That was awesome. Appreciate you for sharing your insights and for being here. Really do appreciate it.
No, for sure. Thank you.
We'll get this edited and everything, and we'll send it out to you. All we ask is that you just share it with your community. Thanks for listening to some of the other episodes. The more recent ones that we've been putting out, we've been making some improvements and changes and things. So if you'll share those as well and just let people know, we just want to help people, grow, become better. live better lives.
Oh, it's so good. No, and it absolutely will. And yeah, if there's anything we can do, any value you need, anything you need, just please. The lifeline's open now. The line of communication is open now. Let's maybe I'll see you at one of the workshops, one of the masterminds, or at one of these
Yeah.
events.
Yeah, maybe, man. I've been doing a lot. So we are in a season of no, is what Alex Hormozy would call it. The
Yeah.
season of no is figuring out I know exactly what I want, and anything and everything that does not align perfectly with that thing, then we say not going to do that right now. It's not the right time.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of times what we educate with people when they first come in. It's like you got to figure out what you want first. You got to know what that is and define that as best as you possibly can. So we're doing two things. Right now, we are developing and growing our integrated medical community called PC Medical Centers. We are expanding. We are using sub-twos, actually, in order to acquire other companies, chiropractic companies, transitioning them into integrated medical companies. And we will create an exit value of over $100 million by doing that within the next decade. And then the other thing I'm doing is building the Fix Your BS community. Fix Your BS is all about growing and expanding and in the personal development and the business growth development side. So we teach strategies that I've learned to develop a 7+ figure per year business. 5 years ago, I never thought that was a possibility. Now we're doing multiple 7 figures, and you're like, how in the heck did that happen? Well, there's a process. So anybody in the business world that wants to do that, they can join our groups and implement the systems and strategies. And if you are dedicated and you put the right actions into place and change your beliefs about what's possible, you can achieve that goal. And that's why we do what we do. I love doing it, help a lot of people, have a lot of fun doing it, make a lot of money in the process. That's what we're all about.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful. Yeah. Greg.
All right, man. Well, I'll send you over my contact info and everything.
Please.
Stay on for just a second.